Hello, my name is Justin Fusco, and I'm here to present a case study on AU Optronics. AU Optronics is a Taiwanese company which specializes in LCD monitors and displays. Their products include computer monitors, mobile devices, smartphones, digital cameras, camcorders, television, and personal gaming devices. AU Optronics deals in various markets and generates a large portion of its revenue from its 5 main customers. Its main customer is Apple Incorporated, in which it produces the screens for iPads and iPad minis. They are currently positioned to be an innovative display solution provider in the phone, tablet, and television market group. AU Optronics currently holds a large market share in large panel LCD screens globally. This includes television screens and computer monitors, not the smaller screens such as smartphones and other technologies. Currently, it holds 16.2% market share in this large panel LCD screens. The monitor screen industry is extremely large, continuously growing, and continuously changing, and it allows easy penetration with new technology always coming in. As new technology evolves, new companies come about and try to become the leader in this technology. The competition for AU Optronics is large and continues growing. Some of its main competitors include LG, Sharp, Sony, and Toshiba, along with another large group of competitors. I'm now going to talk a little bit about the internal situation analysis. I'm going to go over some strengths, weaknesses, and because of this, we will go over some opportunities and threats to the companies. I'll start with strengths. AU Optronics has a very large and strong employee base with over 63,000 employees globally. They are the global leader in TFT LCD screens. This does not include other technologies such as LED and Super AMOLED screens, but just in the TFT and LCD screens, they are the leader globally. They have strong research and development capabilities. They continuously pour money into their research and development and have over 2,000 engineers which only work in research and development. They also have very good manufacturing capabilities. They have 3 plants in Korea, 3 in China, 2 in Taiwan, and 2 in Europe. Manufactures products for some of the leading companies globally. By saying this, what I mean is that it doesn't only manufacture AU Optronics screens, it manufactures screens for other large companies such as Dell, LG, and Sony. So when you see those companies' screens, a majority of the time, they are through AU Optronics. Some of its weaknesses. The first weakness is that its customer concentration has created a business risk. As I said earlier, a majority of its revenues come from its 5 main companies, such as Apple, LG, so on. These companies make up 40% of the revenue to AU Optronics, which is extremely too large. If one of these companies decide to go in a different direction or not to be with AU Optronics anymore, a large chunk of revenue can go with them. Another weakness is the constant legal litigation. When you're in the screen and monitor business, there are tons of legal litigations brought upon you. One of the most serious ones that have currently come against AU Optronics was brought about in 2012, and recently an appeal was lost by AU Optronics, so now they owe $500 million fine for price fixing. The third weakness is a weakening financial position. Throughout the last couple of years, their financial position has weakened. The return on equity has gone from 38% 3 years ago to now 11%. And the operating margin has gone from 15% 3 years ago to now 5%. Because of these strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats come about. Some opportunities include increased demand in touchscreens for tablets and smartphones. Tablets and smartphone market has gone crazy. Globally, people want new technology, the newest smartphone, the newest tablets, and they're getting what they want. Because of this, there are many opportunities for AU Optronics to sell their screens to these new companies. Another great opportunity is the growth of the smartphone market in Asia predominantly. Since they are based in Asia, It makes it easier to ship their goods to Asian companies. And here in America, we have mainly two main smartphone competitors. We have the iPhone and the Samsung Galaxy. And then we have a bunch of smaller competitors, but the main market share is made up of these two. In Asia, the main competitors are made up of 10 to 15 different main companies and then even more smaller around there. There are way more smartphone companies in Asia. The third opportunity is the popularity and strong unbreakable touchscreens, which have come about. They're known as under different names here in America, such as Gorilla Glass, but these new screens have promised to last the entire life of their product. Because of this, the screens sell at a higher cost, increasing revenues. AU Optronics is right in the middle of this and has what they call One Glass, which is a screen that is guaranteed to last the entire life of the product. Some threats also come about. One of the main threats is pricing pressures. As competition broadens and more competitors come about in Korea, China, and Japan, the pricing pressures increase. They create lower price products and AU Optronics must contend with them. They must lower their prices as well. And this is a continuing threat for AU Optronics. Another threat is competition from other new types of screens. LCD screens are not the main type of screen anymore. There are Ultra HD, 4K screens, AMOLED, and LED screens, which continue competition. The third threat is the declining sales price of touchscreens. Touchscreens were once a new technology, and they are no longer new. As the technology is new, it tends to be more expensive, and as it goes along, it gets cheaper and cheaper. Well, it's getting cheaper now, and to increase revenues, the cost of building these screens must go down. So one of the threats is the declining sale prices of these screens. AU Optronics names one of its main competitive advantages as they are a continuing, evolving, and adapting company, which is the world's leader and supplier of thin film transistor liquid screens with a wide variety of product range size. This competitive advantage keeps them ahead of the market and allows them to increase their sales globally. I'm now going to map out some of the key strategic issues that have to do with the continuation of the AU Optronics Corporation. The first issue is I would like to know how will the AU Optronics deal with pending litigations such as its $500 million fine for price fixing. This is not a very small fine. This fine will take a large chunk of their money and will cause them to have new types of revenue to make up for that. And I'm wondering how they will deal with this large fine and future litigations that may come about. The second strategic issue I would like to bring up is how will AU Optronics deal with diversifying its clientele to ensure its revenues come from more than its small amount of customers. As I said, currently 5 customers make up 40% of its revenues, and they need to find a way to diversify that in case any problems arise with any of those 5 customers. The third strategic issue is how AU Optronics will grow with the rapidly changing industry where technology is continuously growing. As we know, technology never stays the same for long. There have been so many types of screens in our lifetime alone that we know that it will continue growing and getting better and better. And how will AU Optronics deal with this and continue to stay ahead of the curve to make sure that it does not fall behind its competitors? The fourth and final strategic issue is how AU Optronics will increase its financial position and operating profit to continue with the growing number of competitors in its industry. As I mapped out for you before, its financial position has been declining, and it's not declining at an alarming rate, but it is declining enough where you begin to ask questions. And its operation profit has gone down from 15 to 5%, which also is not quite alarming, but it is headed in the wrong direction. So I would like to know how AU Optronics would like to deal with this problem and what their plans are in the future to make sure that this problem does not continue. I'm now going to map out some strategic recommendations I have for the continuation of the company. I have 3 different strategic recommendations. The first 2 I find very strong, but the third one I find to be the best recommendation. The first one would be collaboration. Collaboration is becoming very popular, especially with companies that deal in technology. To be able to collaborate with another large company would really benefit AU Optronics. It can broaden its clients and help introduce products to other companies that need LCD and touchscreens. By doing this, it would bring in more customers globally, it would help their product image, and it would help their brand. Also, small startups may be interested in a partnership with a larger company such as AU Optronics. This can help both of them. It would benefit AU Optronics by bringing in some extra finances to help with upcoming problems such as pending litigations, and it would help the smaller companies because it would help their brand recognition, and AU Optronics would be able to give them more customers, in turn helping their brand grow. Also, it would increase the geographical coverage to other countries globally that cannot be done easily from their headquarters in Taiwan. Right now they deal mostly in Asia, as I said, Japan, Korea, China, and a very small part of Europe. But if they were to collaborate with another company, this could grow their sales to be in other countries such as North America, and other continents such as North America and South America and other places throughout the globe. The second recommendation will be market diversification. First of all, it would open sales to more clients and attempt to spread its revenues throughout more than just its small number of customers that it has now. The third recommendation that I would have, and the strongest one, would be product diversification. Product diversification would use research and development to create new technologies and stay up to date with the newest types of screens that are being used in different products. That would make AU Optronics first movers in touchscreens for tablets and smartphones, and would increase the revenues because, as I stated before, first movers tend to have higher revenues since the technology is more expensive at that time. It would also broaden the type of screens and monitors made available to manufacturers and increase market share for these monitors. And finally, it would offer products more than just televisions, phones, and tablets, keeping options open for other types of screens that are being introduced as new technologies, such as smartwatches and wearable smart products that are becoming everly popular throughout the world. In my opinion, I believe that the third recommendation for product diversification is the strongest and should be the one that AU Optronics goes with. One of the biggest problems faced by AU Optronics is the fact that LCD screens are evolving constantly and new technology is always changing and they need to stay ahead of the curve. This remains a problem with AU Optronics because LCD screens it deals with is now beginning to be considered as an older technology. There are new technologies coming about such as LED, OLED, 4K, HD, etc. And to keep its market shares, AU Optronics would need to invest more money in research and development to keep up with these new types of screens and ensure that its product is ahead of its customers and ahead of its competitors. I've now mapped out a few short-run objectives. Some of them have actually been said by the company on their website of what they plan to do in the short run. The first short-run objective for AU Optronics is to lead in the technology for Ultra 4K and Super AMOLED screens and new smartphone technology, which is basically what I wanted it to do with its third recommendation. The company also plans to make new developments and indulge in solar panel industry in the near future. Now this would change everything. This is a whole different market and completely different than LCD screens. I believe it's a very smart option for them. It diversifies their market not just into screens but to other technologies. And the solar panel industry is becoming even more and more interesting to companies globally as well as here in America. To do this solar panel technology, AU Optronics will need to invest more money into research and development and will need to look into building new facilities and plants to create solar panels, as they cannot use the same plants that they use to create screens. Solar panels being a new technology with new marketing opportunities would be great for AU Optronics. Not to mention that here in America, solar panels have become increasingly popular, other than the fact that the equipment tends to be quite expensive. So if AU Optronics can find a way to produce them at a cheaper rate, and sell them to its customers, it may create a new market entry here in America. Thank you very much. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to contact me at jmfusco@bradford.edu. And I've also provided a list of my sources on the last slide of my PowerPoint. Thank you very much.